Hi everyone, I hope you're at home and healthy. My name is Lisa and today I'm going to show you an inexpensive and fun craft that you can do at home with supplies that you probably already have on hand. Today we're going to be making the salt dough ornaments. Now I know you're thinking this might be a fall or winter craft, and truly it could be, especially if you're going to be putting these on your tree, etc., giving them as gifts and so forth. But we can think ahead because we do, in most cases, have the supplies needed in order to make these. I'll show you a few that I have made in a few moments, but I'd like to first give you the supplies that are essential, that you will need. First off, you're going to need all-purpose flour. I've tried self-rising flour just so I could be the guinea pig for you, so that you didn't have to waste the flour to see if self-rising would work. And I'll show you the result of that in just a few moments. But this is all-purpose flour. I need salt, and I'll need a little bit of water. Actually, I'll need about 3/4 cups of water. We'll get into exact measurements here in a few moments. A mixing bowl, obviously a measuring cup. I found the rolling pin to be very helpful to get a consistency in the thickness of the dough before I cut it with my cookie cutters. Now you don't have to use cookie cutters, you could come up with your own shape for this. These are somewhat seasonal. There is a shamrock here and an apple, there's a pepper, a fall leaf, etc. Of course we always have our traditional candy cane, stockings, those kinds of things as well. So, you know, think outside the box, think of things that you might have at home already that you could use as a shape by placing it down and cutting around it as well. So you may or may not have or need the cookie cutters, but I was using mine. We commonly use those for Play-Doh at my house. I also have some paint. If you're going to paint these, I would suggest that you use an acrylic. It dries fast, it's easy to paint on, and is absorbed easily into the surface of the ornament itself. I also used parchment paper as I was rolling this out so that it didn't stick to the surface of my countertop, and it was easy to transfer that to my baking pan. This is an old baking pan. I use it for any type of crafting that I might need that requires the use of the oven. I also have a mixing spoon, and I think that's all of our essentials. We'll get into the construction of these in just a few moments, but first, this is the self-rising ornament. And if you're going to look, it has lost its shape. It actually did rise. This is the all-purpose flower ornament. You can see a big difference. This one actually has kept its shape very well. So, I'm assuming that for the most part, yeah, even the shamrock lost a little bit of its shape. Can you throw these away? That is entirely up to you if they are misshaped. There's a few of these that I may continue to use. But just to let you know, there is your difference. I'll show you another one. This is the gingerbread man. He kind of grew in size. This is with the all-purpose flour. So you can see that the all-purpose flour definitely does work best. These are hard, they're ready to paint, they just lost their shape because they rose. So I'll put these over to the side. This is my mistake. And these are the ones that I'm looking for. You can see even the fall leaf kept its shape. The little apple kept its shape, and so forth. So here's what you're going to need if you want to write this down. You need 2 cups of your all-purpose flour. You need 1 cup of your salt, and then you're going to need 3/4 of a cup of water. Now I just filled this little handy-dandy thing up here with a cup of water, and that way I could gradually add that in. Your dough is going to be the consistency of Play-Doh. So if you need to add just a little bit more flour, as you would if you were baking and needed to absorb some of the moisture, maybe you got too much of the water in there, then you can do so. But once you're going to mix that together, you're going to put your parchment down or on a clean surface. Remember, these are not going to be eaten. they're actually going to be an ornament, so you could use your parchment paper. Wax paper will do the same thing, even if you want to tape it down on the edges so it doesn't move around on you. Once you've gotten it all mixed together and you've gotten it to the consistency where it is Play-Doh consistency, put that right down on your parchment paper. Have a little extra flour over to the side. I like to flour my surface a little bit so that it doesn't stick. I'm going to flour my rolling pin as well, and that way it doesn't stick to the rolling pin as well. The consistency, the thickness of your ornament is going to depend on what you prefer. These are about, they're not quite a ½ inch. Actually, I would have preferred these to be a little thinner. I don't want them to break, and it does take some time to put these in the oven and for them to actually bake or cook or harden. That's at a 200 degree oven. Some sites say 250, so anywhere between 200 and 250 will work. And then this is a long process, so at that low heat, you're going to need them in there for about 2 hours. These were in there about 2 hours, maybe 20 minutes or so. Honestly, I think the larger ones could have baked just a little bit longer, but about 200 to 250 on your oven, and it'll run about 2 hours, 30 minutes, something like that. So once they're in there, you've got plenty of time to go on to another activity. So once you've got them rolled out, all you're simply going to do is take your cutters. You're going to cut out the shape that you want. It will hold its shape very well to the point where you can lift it off of your parchment paper and directly onto your pan. I did not treat this pan in any way. I just put them on there. They did not stick at all. So that's a good thing to remember. Now once they're done and once they're completely cooled, I let mine cool overnight. This was a late evening activity, so by the time they baked and I took them out of the oven and put them on a surface to cool, I wanted to give them a long period of time before I get started again. So the next morning I ended up embellishing them just a little bit. Now the good thing about these are that you can paint them. This happened to be a little flower pattern, and I just went crazy with my paints just to see if it would paint and how easily it would paint. And you can see that was easily done. It absorbed it well, the color is even, etc. Now, I've also, before you bake these, make sure that you put a hole in the top of it, especially if you intend to string them on your tree or have a wire through them or put a ribbon through them. I used a toothpick, and as I was pushing down, before I put them on my baking sheet, I rotated a toothpick around several times to make my hole just a little bit larger than the toothpick and one that I could put a ribbon or a wire or something through. You can see on this one I have put kind of a crazy wire at the top. This one is obviously a star, and I've painted it one of my new favorite colors, but I've also used an ink pad on it, so these do not have to be Christmas related. These could easily be painted, a red one, a white one, a blue one. They could go on a little, a small tree that you have. They could go on a banner somehow that's hanging from your mantle closer to the 4th of July. But I used the small stance that had an easy pattern. It was gonna make a crisp print. So I used a standard ink pad, and I used very simple stamps. You can see I put one on this one. This is the self-rising ornament. This is the all-purpose ornament. And although that one's not too bad, this one is much better, much better. You can see that I have incorporated the ink and the stamps as well as a little bit of paint at the top. And then this one I decoupaged. I took a red ribbon that I had, and if you've seen some of the upcoming programs that I've posted, you'll know that decoupage is simply using Mod Podge or glue to adhere paper, fabric, any of that type of surface to our ornament. And you can see here, this one was a red ribbon, and I just simply Mod Podged that on there. And I've used wire at the top, but you could use anything that you like as far as hanging these. And here's another one. I just took the flower pattern, put the wire through it, a little craziness on the end of it, and it is also stamped. This is so easy.